Election 2020 is just around the corner. In 4 days, Ghanaians will be at the polls. We bring the latest as presidential candidates of the two major political parties intensify their campaigns to woo the hearts of the electorate. Welcome to JoyNews today with me, Daniel Daze. First, in our headlines, there's President Kufuor on his Ashanti region tour.
Confusion of thought. The NDC presidential candidature has collapsed. The campaign is no longer viable.
And the NDC's John Mahama cautioning the EC against overlooking people taking shots of their ballots in the booths.
Who might have extra ballot papers they want to add, it might be in their pockets. And so if he's taking something out of his pocket and adding it to some.
Meanwhile, the Ashanti Region Office of the Electoral Commission, EC, assures it has strategies to ensure timely release of results from the region. Also, persons with disability drum home their concerns about making public places accessible to them. We get up close with a second-year student of the University of Ghana sharing her experience on campus as the world marks Disability Day today.
Go to class panting, like short of breath, like it's a hassle. Like I basically feel like don't feel the need to be in class because it's stressful.
Now in business, National Board for Small-Scale Industries begins talks with financial institutions to develop affordable insurance products for micro, small and medium enterprises. My name is Daniel Daze. Welcome. In our first story, President Kufuor is on a day tour of parts of the eastern region. He's visiting Akimodan, Nsawam, Suhum and Ikropong after wrapping up his 3-day tour of the Ashanti region. Now, at the final rally at Ashanti New Town in the Mencia South constituency, the president said lies and deceit being propagated by his main opponent, John Mahama, will be rejected by Ghanaians. Describing the free senior high school program as the envy of the world, Nana Kufuor said government will work to make it even better to guarantee sound education for the populace.
Our educational system is the envy of the world. We are singing baby ameko. You come up by the first thing people talk about, Ghana's free senior high school system. Yeah, one yes, NDC presidential candidate. I'm a penny that I didn't. I'm so don't know the SHS by. Hey. So be Ghana, but me a dear dancer or I am Matthew Poco Prempe. Namudi by the Contia. Your penny also Yame, and now no disaster Ghana. His campaign has collapsed. Mahama's campaign has collapsed. Ababianim. So, he's resorted to lies, to outright fabrications, misrepresentations, confusion of thought. The NDC presidential candidature has collapsed. The campaign is no longer viable. Obia, what's wrong with Ding or Waha? Bekon Waka Kotunaba. Faukan. Bobianka. Say, oh, Nana Kra, when you did that, he has some Koto. Onto Wodia, Nana Enyaye. Onto Wodia, Napo Onyaye. It's in the middle jamo. And they said, Juadano. I'm back. Yeah, Kwakotono. Boom, 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 boom.
Let's speak to Elton John Brobe, who has joined us from the Ashanti region. Elton, good afternoon. Tell us what else the president has been up to. Right, Elton, if you can hear me, tell us about today's activities as far as campaigning has been concerned. Elton, if you can reposition yourself, Elton, so we can hear you as you speak to us. Elton Brobe has been embedded with the president's campaign team since it began. He, of course, is our presidential correspondent. We'll get the latest update from him as the president wraps up his tour in the Ashanti region. Elton has joined us. Elton, tell us what more you can report.
So, Daniel, we are in some village. We've entered the eastern region. It's just going to be a day campaign tour in some selected parts of the region. And Sawam, Suhum, Akimoda, and the rest. And basically to reiterate the point for the people to come out in the numbers. So yesterday ended the tour of the Ashanti region with a mammoth rally at Ashtown, where dancehall artist Samini was on stage and later appealed to the youth to vote for President Kufuor because their future will be secured under him. The issue of free SHS was also a major point that came up during the campaign tour. President Kufuor again said that there is no doubt about who implemented the policy and that government is looking at perfecting it in the 4 years that he is canvassing for people to vote for him. And that if he's given another dot, we'll have the situation where the program will be perfected. And then secondly, in the next few years to come, we'll have a very educated population in the country. And that his main opponent in the December 7th election, John Mahama of the NDC, is not offering anything new. And that he's only propagating lies and deceit. The people should read in between the lines and vote for the presidency of the MPP because they have the plan, the agenda to transform the country from the current position now to a more prosperous land. Daniel.
Now, Elton, do we know where the president heads to after the Eastern region?
So it is just a day's tour of the Eastern region. The 4th and 5th of December, that's just coming Friday and Saturday, the concentration will be on the Greater Accra region. That will be the final campaign tour for the electioneering campaign. President Kufuor is expected to climax it with a rally at Mancha Agona. We are told that the NDC also will be doing same within that period. So Saturday will be the last of the campaign, last of telling the message to the elected, last of convincing people to vote for the MPP for another 4 years.
Right, and that will be, the focus will be on the Greater Accra region, Elton Brobe, joining us there from the Eastern region where President Kufuor is currently pitching his camp. Now, the former president, John Mahama, has charged the Electoral Commission to address the issue of people taking shots of their votes at the polling centres. According to him, as long as the EC cannot be sure of what is happening in the booth, there is the possibility that some voters could introduce foreign materials into the ballot boxes while there to vote. He spoke to MFA Apau in an exclusive interview at the back of the outcome of the special voting.
Feedback we have is that it went well. It was generally calm, and as many people as possible voted. There were a few complaints of some people whose names were not on the list, even though they had registered. I don't think it's earth-shaking because I haven't heard it generally. There are a few of those complaints, but aside from that, special voting is something we've done over the years. When it's finished, the ballot boxes are sealed and kept until 7th, and then they are added to the general vote count. So it's nothing special. People will speculate that somebody won and somebody won. The only thing untoward was people were taking pictures of their paper. The vote is supposed to be secret, and so it means that the EC must look at that and do something about it. I heard them say no cameras in the phones in the polling area, you know, but of course some of the agents will need their phones to do their work. If the agents and the electoral officers have phones, maybe that's okay. But I mean, for voters to come and take pictures, you know, might be a bit of a problem. Maybe it might depend on how they position the booth where you vote. Sometimes they turn it so you can't see what the voter is doing behind it. So it can be turned so that you can see him from the back. You can't see his ballot paper. But if he's taking something from his pocket and doing something, you can tell that he's doing something untoward in there. It will even help with people who might have extra ballot papers they want to add. It might be in their pockets. And so if he's taking something out of his pocket and adding it to something, you'll be able to tell. But that's for the EC to decipher.
Now, the NDC's presidential candidate will later this afternoon begin a tour of the Volta and Oti regions as he ended his visit to the Eastern region this morning. We understand that in the Eastern region yesterday, he urged party supporters to be vigilant next Monday's elections. Maxwell Mcmahon is with the campaign team and he joins us. Maxwell, what else has John Mahama been saying in the Eastern region?
Yeah. Hello, Daniel.
Hi, Maxwell. What else has John Mahama been saying in the Eastern region?
Well, in the Eastern region, in the Brim North district, he has been talking about Cocoa Roads. He says when the NDC was in campaign, they started constructing the Nkoko to New Brim Road. He says they had completed 5 kilometers of that road, but the road has since been left uncompleted for 4 years, with work now only resuming because of elections. He describes it as Sakawa. He says it's only to hoodwink electors to vote for the MPP. He says, John Mahama says the party will establish small-scale mining offices to ensure sustainable small-scale mining in the Brim North district. He says about 1 million young people will be employed if the small-scale mining sector is properly handled. He has been reiterating his promise of pardoning persons who've been jailed for small-scale mining, for illegal mining, Galamsey, and also returning their concessions to them. He has been talking about the party's national apprenticeship program. He says the NDC will add private schools to the free senior high school program, contrary to claims that the NDC will abolish it.
Now, which areas in the Volta and Oti regions is Mr. Mahama expected to visit with his team?
Well, officially, that has not been communicated to us, but the Volta region, we know, continues to be the stronghold of the NDC. Indeed, some weeks ago, the MPP presidential candidate ended his tour of that region. There he campaigned strongly for Energy Minister John Peter Mewu to win the Hohoi seat. You're told that the NDC presidential candidate is likely and expected to be in that constituency to consolidate the gains of the NDC in that region and also undo the gains made by the NPP.
Right, thank you very much, Maxwell Mcmahon. Now, the campaign manager of the MPP, Peter Mcmahon, says the main objective of their campaign is to win the December elections by a projected 1.5 million votes in the presidential ballots. He, however, says the NPP will not be complacent, despite surveys which are projecting a win for the party on December 7. He spoke to Mamavi Oswabwaje in an interview.
The campaign has been smooth. The campaign has been peaceful. The campaign has been civil, based on ideas. Me and my team, the campaign team, have been working extremely hard because our target, our objective is to win one touch with a margin of victory of over 1.5 million votes in the presidential and 66% of the parliamentary seats, which is close to 198 to 206. So once we set ourselves these ambitious targets, it only takes a hard work to be able to achieve them. That's exactly what our team, the MPP campaign team, led by me, are doing.
Set yourself, and as you say, an ambitious targets. There are various polls that put you in the lead ahead of your main contender, the NDC's candidate, John Mahama. But there is also another poll that uses the statistical methodology that says that it won't be a one-touch victory in this 2020 election.
Well, you see, we do have been told by various researchers and pollsters that we're going to win one touch. Nevertheless, we're not going to go asleep. We are not going to be complacent. We are working extremely hard because, you see, in elections, the magic to the victory is hard work.
You're live on Joy News today. Now, the Coalition of Domestic Election Observers, CODEO, is currently launching an election information center to aid all stakeholders on Monday's polls. Let's bring on board my colleague, Maxwell Mcmahon, who is attending that event. Manuel, tell us what has been going on at that event. Right, Manuel, if you can hear us, give us a brief update on the goings on at that launch. Right, my colleague Maxwell Mcmahon is currently observing that event keenly by the Coalition of Domestic Election Observers. CODEO, of course, we know, is a civil society organization which is very interested in the elections. They actually observe the elections and put out regular reports at various points, both on election day and after election day. They are major stakeholders when it comes to the polls in Ghana, very experienced in that regard. We will definitely be getting that update from Maxwell Mcmahon in that program. Now, the Electoral Commission in the Ashanti region is unwilling to change the choice of collation center for Asawase constituency, despite objections by the National Democratic Congress. Now, Director of the Commission, Benjamin Banobio, says the Asokore Mamponhine's Palace remains the best fit for the process. Naya Ojima has been comparing the previous collation center with the current choice and filed this report.
The incumbent Member of Parliament for Asawase constituency has objected to the use of the Asokore Mampon Palace as a collation center for December 7 polls. For him, the area is unsuitable because of heavy vehicular traffic in the evening and the bushy environment.
One, the place is obscured. It's at the outskirts of the city. It is surrounded by bush that could easily be used as hideouts. There are a lot of uncompleted houses there that could also be used as hideouts. Also, everybody in this constituency knows in the morning the traffic is from Asokore Mampon towards town, and in the evening the traffic is from town towards Asokore Mampon.
Love News visit to the area indicates the street lights are well lit with installed security cameras. A weedy space opposite the palace is being developed by the local assembly. This is the Asokore Mampon Chief's Palace, the point the Electoral Commission has chosen for collation of ballots for the Asawase constituency on December 7th. As you can see, it's a huge acreage of land, well fenced, and security is high here in the palace. Behind me is the court the EC will use as the point during the collation. Ashanti Regional Director of the Electoral Commission, Benjamin Banobio, says the choice was carefully made, taking all necessary security and safety protocols into consideration.
Convenience is a place that you have selected, convenient to be used as a collation center. Is it accessible that people can go there? Is it spacious? You know, we are not in normal times. Is it spacious enough to ensure social distancing? These are some of the things we consider. And when we locate collation centers, we give it to the police for them to also go and investigate or look around those centers as to whether they can provide effective security.
So here is the Nuru Amin Senior High School in the Asawase constituency, and this is the area, or this is the point that was used as a collation center for the 2016 general elections. So the school has 3 different exit points, and I'm standing in front of the main entry to the school. So there are other 2, both on my left side. Within the compound is another fencing that has only 1 exit point, and 2 others in the main building before you get to the hall that was used in the previous elections.
It is just a ground floor of a story building, and the room or the hall is not all that spacious. It cannot contain 100 people. And the chairs are so close to each other. It has only one entry point. And that's the same entry point they use as the exit point. And the compound are littered with stones, which can easily be, easy weapon for anybody to throw.
For JoyNews, Nana Ojima reporting.
The Electoral Commission in that part of the country also says it has a working strategy to ensure timely delivery of election results as the Commission targets early declaration of results. Per the EC's plan, final election results must be declared 24 hours after commencement of polls. Regional EC Director Mr. Banobio will not disclose the strategies towards achieving the goals, but assured necessary steps have been taken. Now, we will move to other stories. Now, if you're a person living with disability in Ghana, getting a job is almost always an uphill task. Employers won't recruit a man with a hearing impairment or a woman with Down syndrome. On the International Day of Persons with Disabilities, JoyNews puts the spotlight on the challenges faced by these individuals and how their livelihoods are affected by the discrimination. Judith Awachitando has more.
In the past, disability was seen as a curse, with many persons of disability being unfairly treated. After decades of several educational and political interventions, the situation does not appear to have changed. Persons with disabilities still face stigmatization and are often excluded from social activities.
When I sometimes walk, they thought I've taken an alcohol, so kids will make fun of me and they'll be saying all sorts of things. But I know it's a condition of me and cannot be changed.
George Best was born with cerebral palsy. After 26 years of living with his condition, George still faces the same stigma he suffered years back.
Generally, they see people living with disability as beggars, and they don't give them the chance to, prove themselves. I've been to a ministry looking for a job, and then they sacked me out of that particular ministry, saying I've been looking for a job with a fit certificate.
Ya has lived with a leg disability for 48 years. Although she has managed to bag a degree, she still has concerns the system is not disability friendly.
Within public facilities, everywhere that you go, buildings, people are there who work there are not disability friendly. From the security man, for example, if you take the ministry, for example, it tells you no taxis allowed.
With the glaring challenges faced by persons with disabilities, there is the need for a commitment by the state to implement policies aimed at improving their welfare. Many of them are helpless, and only a state intervention will save them. Judith Awachitando's report for JoyNews.
Let's take you to the launch of the National Election Information Center by the Coalition of Domestic Election Observers. Manuel Kranting joins us live. Manuel, tell us what has been going on there.
Oh, Daniel, I'm really struggling to hear you, but if I'm hearing you, you just need an update on what has been happening here. So at the Kofi Annan International Peacekeeping Training Center. Well, today, the CODEO, Coalition of Domestic Election Observers, has launched what would be on December 7, a parallel coalition center that essentially will be picking data from all of it. We're told 4,000 election observers who will be dotted across the country, bringing in real-time events and data for the team here, as you can see behind me, to be cracking them down and then putting them out. We're told that this is essentially to, beat down the tension so that there's smooth flow of information to the public. Well, Dr. Agyekum Kufuor is the coordinator at this center and just joining me for a quick interaction. So how far do you think this coalition center is going to go in terms of what the target you've set for yourself in beating down tension?
Well, thank you. So this is just to say that this is a national information center. And it's a national information center because we are not here doing collation. What we are is a nerve center for our observers to send in their data, their text messaging data, which we will process and be able to share with the public in terms of how the elections are going. There are about 5 different events, we call them 5 events, that we'll be tracking. So right from the beginning, our observers are supposed to be there at 6 a.m. We want them to be able to be there and be able to report that they are there and they've been allowed to observe, so that at least we know that observers are in there. And then to observe the setup that the Electoral Commission is going to prepare for the voting process to start. So between 6 a.m. and 7 a.m., by 7:30, we should have all of that data about how the setup is done.
Essentially, you'll be giving periodic, the information to the public as time moves.
We normally do a midday press event where we are able to gather information about the arrival and the setup, because those things are important. You want to make sure that all the materials that are supposed to be at the polling stations are there. The biometric machines, the ballot papers, the name reference list, all of because if some are missing, then it would delay the electoral process. Also, you want to make sure that the polling stations are open by 7 a.m. So we'll be able to get information from observers.
So 2 quick things. Yes. One, security, and the other one, your takeaway lessons from the special voting conducted 2 days ago. What are your lessons from that special voting exercise? And then your impression of the security setup also.
Okay, well, I think generally, for me, one thing that was good was that the BVD machines performed well because these were the live testing of the BVD machines. So that bodes well for the election day itself. But the special voting was generally smooth. There were a few places where I think people had missing names, which the Electoral Commission is dealing with. So that bodes well, I said, for E-Day itself. Of course, that's a much larger grouping, but so far, so good with that process. On the security issue, I think I am still waiting to hear how the electoral security would deal with the concerns raised by the chiefs in the Volta region. And I think really, for me, that really has to be all about dialogue, is to engage the community, because there are 2 objectives there. You want to address the secessionist issue there, but at the same time, you don't want that to be turned into an area where there's intimidation and people cannot go out to vote. So there has to be a lot of education and engagement with opinion leaders there, but also the media there, because you don't want people fanning, any kind of tension in there. So those are the things that are outstanding. So we want to hear more of that going into the election.
Great. More of that going into the election. So, Daniel, you heard me speak to Dr. Agyekum Kufuor, the coordinator at this nerve center, as he just said, of CODEO. They will be working and bringing live updates to the public on election day. Right. So, from here, the Kofi Annan International Peacekeeping Training Center. Daniel, over to you.
Thank you very much, Manuel Kranting, now Executive Director for the Salt and Lights Ministries, and former Chief Executive of the Minerals Commission, Dr. Joyce Bamford, has urged Ghanaians to also hope in God and pray alongside every election activity towards ensuring a peaceful December 7 poll. Dr. Joyce Aye is the latest among a number of women of Christian faith who have been appearing on Joy Time in His Presence to preach on ensuring peaceful elections, the role of the electorate. Her sermon was based on the biblical illustration about how the disciples prayed before casting lots to select a replacement for Judas Iscariot. She was hosted by Reverend Ato Akwa on Joy 99.7 FM.
Let's walk out with what we have, the shalom of God, the peace of God. It's ours. We have it. We can give it. We don't have to be afraid. We're going into these elections as people of God, people that God is going to use to actually showcase, show forth. You know, God knows who is going to win, but God says, come alongside me, give me your thumb. I will use your thumb to let you know in the physical what I know in the spiritual.
Wow.
Yes, I know whom I have chosen, but you don't. So come alongside me, pray to me, let me show you who I have chosen, and go and use your thumb to do so as your act from me. You see, what a privilege that God, who can do all things, Pastor, will say, you should come alongside, I should come alongside him to show what he has already done in the spirit. You know, so your thumb is very important to God. Beloved, I hope you are not one of those who says, oh, I don't want to go and vote. You have to go and vote. If you belong to God, it is your duty to him to go and vote.
Coming up in business here on JoyNews today, National Board for Small-Scale Industries begins talks with financial institutions to develop affordable insurance products for micro, small and medium-scale enterprises. Daryl Kwao has the details after this.
All right, everyone, welcome to Business. My name is Daryl Kwao. The National Board for Small-Scale Industries has begun talks with financial institutions to develop affordable insurance and financing products for micro, small, and medium-scale enterprises in the country. The project, supported by the MasterCard Foundation's Young Africa Works program, will facilitate access to funding from the financial sector and enrollment of businesses onto various micro insurance products. Here's Executive Director of the board, Kosi Yankee I.
Come up with options for access to finance, products that banks can adopt and work with, or insurance companies, and as much as possible, we're interacting with the banks to give their feedback and their inputs to see if these products that we worked with the consultants and the MSMEs, both on the demand and supply side, would make sense to them and how we can actually implement it. So our partnership with MasterCard Foundation would allow us to really implement and ensure that a lot of financial institutions buy into this, so we can create more opportunities for access to finance.
So what are some of the findings, if you can help us?
I think there are a lot of different findings that almost 20%, approximately 29% of people were getting their access to finance from financial institutions. That shows you that what's happening to the close to 69%, that means they are not really accessing funding through the traditional means of going to banks. So there are people who are going to money lenders, there are those who are getting from friends and family. So that means if you don't have a family or a friend who can give you, then you can't do much. And I think we need to move away from that if we want to accelerate the growth of businesses and support the businesses to do well.
Also this afternoon, the Credit Unions Association of Ghana is calling on government to cushion the union as some of its members continue to feel the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic. According to them, the pandemic has affected businesses of members, most of whom are unable to service their loans. Richard Koyonyako has more from the annual general meeting of the Ogwa Teachers Cooperative Credit Union held in Cape Coast.
The credit unions in the country are unions that deal mostly with low-income earners in the Ghanaian society. Every year, the leadership of the credit unions render accounts of their stewardship to the members at the annual general meetings. General Manager of the Association of Cooperative Credit Unions, at the annual general meeting of the Ogwa Teachers Cooperative Credit Union, believes with the turbulence the financial sector faced in recent times, it is only the credit unions that can mitigate the hardships. Emmanuel Kofi says even though the credit unions are not doing badly now, they will require the support of government.
The credit unions are still performing. It means that it is a financial institution that has come to stay, because it's only credit unions that can mitigate the hardship that we are faced with. With this COVID issue, we're expecting that government will also come to the aid of credit unions to support the credit unions, because a lot of people need money, loans, to work, to trade, to actually establish something for themselves. But the money that we gather as credit unions is not so much such that we can give so much to people for that development. So when this support is given by government, we believe that a lot of people will be helped, and that will make the whole country to get to another level.
Regional Manager of the Cooperative Credit Unions, Prince Darlington Boateng, says the credit unions have to put in place interventions to cushion their members in the face of the pandemic.
Some of our members were not able to pay their loans on schedule because of the lockdown and all those things. But as credit union, because we are members based, we try as much as possible to cushion our members in terms of reduction in the loan interest in the COVID period, so that it will help them also ease the financial challenges they are facing. And so we gave them a reduction in interest to be able to help them to mitigate the impact of COVID-19 on the members.
Outgoing board chair of the Ogwa Cooperative Credit Union, Nana Kojo Boateng, says the year under review has been good and they are expecting a better year in 2021.
The year under review, Ogwa Teachers Credit Union has performed very well. We've had few challenges. I'm sure, obviously, like we all know, the financial crisis, COVID and all that, we didn't receive as much as we expected, and so it affected the business as a whole. So I must say that we've not done badly. We've had few challenges, but by and large, we will thank God for everything that has happened. But we are still standing on our feet. As you can see, the prospects are high for growth and for profitability.
For Joy Business, Richard Kwejonya reporting from Cape Coast.
And we've got a full bulletin of business news at the top of the hour. Sports is up next with Oreku Ampofo.
Hello, good afternoon and welcome to the sports segment with me, Oreku Ampofo. We start off from some Ghana football where some coaches have been hauled before the disciplinary committee of the Ghana FA for berating referees' performances. Referees manager of the Ghana Football Association, Alex Cortes, says people have not been properly educated by the rules of the game.
For the referees, we have told them to be fair in their judgment, to ensure that whatever decisions they are taking is backed by the laws of the game. There is this new concept that FIFA has introduced, that is football understanding. We took them through that. Because you see, in every decision that you make on the field of play, you must ask yourself, what will football accept? You understand? So football understanding is very crucial now. And so we have taken them through that. We have done everything. For the media, I think that we still have a lot of work to do. The education aspect in terms of the media hasn't gone down that very well. And so looking at that, I would say that yes, okay, we still have some work to be done there. More especially once they will be running the matches, they will be running commentary on the matches. They need to be spot on. They need to say what the law is saying, so that they don't say things out of their own opinions and that sort of thing. I've listened to some commentaries over the week when our local people, I mean the local media wants to analyze some incidents. You realize that whatever they are saying is not correct.
You understand? Some have them very right, but then it's not everything that they are saying there that is, very, very well. So I think that we need to step up more education to the media, and so that is that.
Let's now do some international football news, where it was announced all the way in November that football would be receiving some amount of fans, and we would be seeing that tonight as Arsenal would be playing at home at the Emirates, welcoming 2,000 fans. You can get some more sports stories at myjoyonline.com/sports and follow the Joy Sports handle at JoySportsGH on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter. But that wraps up the sports here. My name is Oreko Ampofu. We go for a quick break. When we come back, World News is up next.
Hello there, good afternoon. Welcome to Showbiz here on JoyNews today. Ghana Social Media Business and Creative Arts Awards comes off Friday, 4th of December 2020. The awards, according to organizers, will be rewarding excellence in various fields of work and individuals who, through social media, have impacted lives positively. Elisa J is one of the organizers.
Ghana Social Media Business and Creative Arts Awards. We are awarding excellence in digital media. You know, digital media is the next big thing. At first, for example, we used to listen to radio frequency and TV and also all other platforms for media to broadcast. But now, radio has evolved into a new direction. So for example, anytime you listen to radio frequency like Joy 99.7 FM, when you have your Facebook, you get a notification that Joy 99.7 is live. You are watching Joy 99.7 live on radio, on your Facebook, on your phone. So even on TV too, it's not just like watching JoyNews only on TV, but you also watch JoyNews on your Facebook live. Even during the COVID, even pastors or churches saw the importance of social media. They were all going live on Facebook Live and YouTube Live to reach out to their church members. Yes, this shows that social media is the next big thing, the new digital media. So new digital media is a new media age now.
I understand that there are a few people performing. Who are these?
Yeah, sure. Kofi Kinata is performing. Akwabwa Jr. too is performing. Donsi Chaka too is performing, and Article 1 too is performing, and Kel Songs too is performing too as well. And we also have a surprise act on the 9th who is going to, we know that artist who has always been on Facebook Live and also on Twitter ranting all over. So there's going to be a surprise from him to also show appreciation to a digital media that brought his creativity out there. So that personality will be there to give us a surprise.
On that note, we end Showbiz here on Joy News today. Over to you, Daniel.
Thanks, Becky. And that's how we end this bulletin of Joy News today. My name is Daniel Daze. Have a good day.